welcome. Today I have the joy to converse with Sarah from the Resilient Journey, a mindset and confidence coach. And today we'll be talking about how to break free from people pleasing. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being with us today.
Thank you, Francesca. Very nice to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure for me because I used to be a people pleaser. To some extent, I still am. So I'm actually kind of curious on how it all started. What led you to become a coach?
Well, I think it all started when I was a child. My mother passed away when I was 11. And since that took my life on a long and winding road that I had to figure things out for myself. And since I didn't have much family around me, I was depending on other friends and making other relationships. And
Mhm.
in a way, I started pleasing everybody, and just so that they could be my friends and they could help me and I needed support. And I became a proper people pleaser just because I wanted friends. And some took advantage of it and some were really helping me. But that's how my journey as a people pleaser really started in life.
Wow, it is heartbreaking to hear that you had to suffer through losing a parent so young. That is something that is very difficult. And it's almost natural to want to find support around you and thinking, maybe if I am a
Yeah.
people pleaser, I can find friends. It's hard to break from that. What do you think is something that could help people who struggle with people pleasing?
Well, there are many reasons for people pleasing, and some people use it as a sort of manipulation, perhaps. But if you come from a background of a difficult childhood, which I think many do who are people pleasers, then it's the loneliness that causes you to please people because you're dying for friends and company. So, what you can do to break away from it is getting to know yourself a little bit. Find your inner strength and your the thing is, when you're people pleaser, you don't always know much about yourself because as a young adult, as a child, you're managing circumstances. You're a little bit in survival mode. And a people pleaser concentrates on knowing everybody else very well. What do they like? Okay, I can help with that. What do they like? I can do that. But they don't know themselves very well. And that was exactly my case. I didn't know myself almost to the point that there was no self, you know? I would put myself last, always put everybody else first, what people pleasers do. And they always say yes when their heart means no because they want to please. And I think one of the first steps is to start saying no when you really mean no, because you suffer yourself otherwise when you keep saying yes. You do things you don't want to do, and you feel used and manipulated, and you just start feeling really bad about yourself. So find your voice, I'd say. Find your voice, trust your voice, and say no when you mean no. And also don't feel ashamed. I mean, many of us, when we come from a difficult childhood, we don't, I mean, most people have a mother and a father and they talk about it and they have aunts and uncles and everything. But if you're sitting there and you don't have anybody, I was with my dad, but that wasn't a success. But you don't want to talk about yourself either because you're different. I don't have an
Mm.
uncle, I don't have a mother, even everybody has a mother. So you start feeling a lot of shame and guilt about yourself as well. And I would say that's number one as well. Stop feeling guilty about your childhood or your childhood experiences because it's not your fault. You're not responsible. So start feeling proud of yourself. Say no when you don't let people use you. And I would say that that's a good start. Also, a lot of people almost apologize for taking up space, because we keep small, we play small, we keep the
Mhm.
peace, stop doing that as well. You are here, you have a place in the world and take it. You have as much right to be here as everybody else. And know that you're a real person just like everybody else. Literally, I had to say that to myself because it was like there was no self. There was only all these other people. I would say that's a good start.
And it's a very difficult start to realize that, wait, I count too. Who am I? How do I belong here? I would love to know if you can share a little bit more. What was the shift for you? How did you realize, wait a minute, I am here too? How do I pay attention to me? How that came about for you?
That took many, many years. That took many years. I think when I became a mother, I started seeing what I had missed out on because until then I had just lived it, I never given it much thought more than that it was hard. But once I became a mother myself and I saw how I nurtured my daughter and protected her and did everything, cared for her, I started realizing what had happened. And then all of a sudden I realized that it wasn't me, it was circumstances that had happened. It wasn't my fault. And that's when my perspective started shifting a little bit. And I had to be strong for somebody else. So I had to find my voice, and lead and guide. That was a big turning point in my life. And then later on, it started with self-help books. I started reading. And every time it was a real revelation for me, like, oh, I feel like that, and that's me. And look, I am a person, literally, I had to tell myself, but you are a person, and I read books and books about all these things about relationships. And then I started more online with courses, and that's how I've done it, maybe 10 years, bit 20 years, bit by bit, all the time, step by step. And then, yeah, one day you just become very assertive, but then you have to balance it that you don't become too assertive either, like a
Sure.
bulldozer. But it's been a gradual thing all the time. Yeah.
It definitely is a journey. And I'd like to go back to the point about feeling guilty. It's very easy and common to think, well, this was the circumstance, but did I do something to deserve that? And was I the cause? And so when you realize that you do have impact on others, but it's not your fault what happened. However, you can change how things are at the moment by realizing I have control of what I do because there is a little person within me who's striving to come and blossom out and be the best possible version so that I don't hurt others the way I felt hurt and see that I am not the cause of circumstances. And it does take time, it is a journey. It's interesting you mentioned motherhood because that's kind of what happened to me too. That's the phase in my life where I realized I don't want my child to feel that sense of guilt, feel like they have to please others, otherwise, there is no harmony. That's not true. We're all created individually with a purpose. And so every single one of us counts tremendously. So, what a gift for people to know that there are wonderful human beings like you who devote their lives at some point to actually help others break that pattern. And so, I would love to hear a little more about your coaching methods or program that you use.
Okay. I have a program that's 6 steps in 6 weeks. It can be a group or it can be individual.
Mhm.
So what I find important, again, is based on my own journey. Yeah. That I found that I had to get to know myself first. First of
Mhm.
all, you have to accept yourself as you are, accept your childhood, and accept what has happened. It's the past, you can't change it. And then you have to put away the shame and the guilt, like you mentioned as well. It's not your fault. Don't feel ashamed about it. I mean, it used to be the worst question somebody could ask me at a gathering or something. Where do you come from? Where are your parents and what did they do? I would like, oh, I would give hardly any answer at all because I felt a lot of shame and guilt. I wasn't like everybody else. So that's the first thing. Accept yourself, accept what happened, and don't feel any shame or guilt. It's not your fault. And then you have to think about how you talk to yourself. We all have this inner critic, and it can be
Yes.
really loud, you can't do this. And I always used to feel that I was not a good person, because of what happened, and I was never really happy. You feel a bit down, and you have to get to lower the volume of that inner critic. You have to start standing up and believing in yourself. Say nice things to yourself. Praise yourself. If you do something nice, you've cooked a wonderful lasagna, praise yourself. Yes, I cooked the good lasagna today. You have to praise yourself. We want praise from other people, but
Mhm.
they don't know. They haven't got time. They might forget. We can talk to ourselves, be proud of ourselves. And for instance, that I read in those days, Louise Hay did a lot of mirror work with affirmations. And
Mhm.
she would say, stand in the mirror and say, look yourself in the eye and say, I love you. Now that is very emotional when you do that the first time, but very, very effective. It's very emotional. And like you have talked about gratefulness and all that helps a lot. So you have to talk, not be your own best friend or even mother yourself. You have to be really nice to yourself. Yeah. And then understand your feelings. Why? What do you feel and why do you feel it? Why did you get angry when somebody said something to you the other day?
Mhm.
Maybe you were triggered. It's a little wound from your childhood still. You're still triggered. There's still this anger and, why me? You have to get to know your feelings, what you feel to start with, and why you feel it. And then the next thing is to expressing your feelings, and that was a real revolution for me because I never spoke up very much. I
Mhm.
was yes, and then the day you can actually express your feeling and not be intimidated by somebody else who say, yeah, but you exaggerate, and but just really express yourself and say what you feel. It lifts so much weight off you, and you that's when you become a real somebody. It's a wonderful feeling. So we work with that to express feelings, and then setting healthy boundaries, not becoming a
Mhm.
human bulldozer, like no, but to set healthy boundaries in your relationships with your friends and your colleagues, and indeed say no when your heart says no, when you really don't want to do it. So that's it. And the last step is to self-care, to look after yourself, like praise yourself, do nice things, go and have a massage, or do sports, or go out with your friends, or create more joy in your life, good food, just create more fun and more joy in your life, and spoil yourself, buy yourself something nice, or just put yourself first, not always everybody else. And I think if you do these 6 steps and you practice it, I mean, I'll do role playing and things like that with the boundaries and the
Mhm.
feelings. I think you can come a long way. It's a journey. It's not 6 steps, 6 weeks, and you're done. It's something you have to practice every day. But the good habits, they stack themselves, and you become better at it. And the minute you start feeling stronger and better, you also see it how other people react to you, and you can
Mhm.
see in the eyes how they look at you, or that you're part of everything, and it just makes you feel so happy. You just want more.
This is a wonderful program. I'm actually very intrigued by it because those steps, without realizing, is something I worked on in the past, but didn't realize what I was doing. And some of these steps I haven't done yet. So I may have to get in touch with you again just for further information on it. But this brings me to the revelation also about the importance of being aware that we are existing too. It's not just about how others see us or what role we may have, what relationship we may have with others. Is we start from us, from ourselves. If we don't have a good relationship with ourselves, then we can't really foster other relationships. So those are fundamental steps. Where could
Yeah.
people find more information and reach you?
Well, they can reach me on my website called theresilientjourney.com. I have lots of information there. I have an Instagram reels that I put out every week called also The Resilient Journey. And I have a YouTube channel that I'm starting now called Your Resilient Journey, and I will have information there and tips and things like that, what I do.
Wonderful. I do love the resilient journey. Before I let you go, I do want to ask a little more about how did you decide to call it that? Because it's so powerful. Just the name is empowering.
That is because what I had to have from a very early age is strength. I needed to have inner strength, and that's resilience. I had to motivate myself to do things, to go to school every day and just do things. And you need inner strength for all of that. I had to adapt to so many different situations. I stayed with different families. We moved to another country, my dad and I. I broke up with him when I was 16. I started living on my own. And uh, you need inner strength. You just need to keep going. Inner strength. Tell yourself you can do it and motivate yourself all the time. That resilience to cope with what life throws at you. And that's why I thought this is what I want to call it. And it is a journey. It's not done in just one go. It keeps developing all the time, but it gets better and better all the time.
How wonderfully brave of you, though, at that young age to break free and spread your wings. It must have taken a lot of courage. And that probably was a revelation. Ooh, I am brave. What other strengths do I have? Let me see here. And that's also the joy of resilience journey is realizing our inner strengths and resources. You know, how we can, at some point, we realize we have all that we need within. So,
Yes. Sometimes when people are really pushed, when the situation is so bad that they say to themselves one day, no more, no more. That's when most people find resilience. Huh? And that was the situation for me. It was like, no more. That's when we find resilience.
absolutely. And it does take awareness to say, okay, this is not good for me. I'm going to have to start saying no. It's very encouraging to talk with you about this. I hope that many people will listen to this episode because we all need to be reminded of our inner strength, our resilient journey. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been wonderful to talk to you.
And to all of you who listened today, thank you for tuning in. Remember to take care of yourself, breathe, smile, and do something to soothe yourself today.